for me. So that seemed good. That seemed good. But maybe not so good for you guys, because then you'd have a groggy teacher at 3 a.m. my time teaching the class or what have you, right? So, different timing at all. Regardless, they looked at it yesterday, Tyler, and we decided it just probably isn't smart to go and have like that much time in quarantine and come back and that much time in quarantine. So I had to make some administrative calls yesterday on what they're doing. In essence, in January, they have their mid-year huge 10,000 students are out trying to go to Shanghai and have a big national tournament. And I'm in charge of running all of that and the teachers and students and stuff. So I handled all of that yesterday, Tucker. That's the long answer. And I'll handle it one more day in January so that I don't have to. Good news. Go. That's great, right? Like you go, so I actually have a teacher in the end of January. Tessa's like, okay, well, we'll take that. So I think that's good news. But that's what I was doing yesterday, is arranging for about 50 teachers and coming up with their logistics of what they're doing, how they're coaching, handling 10,000 kids from Macau and Hong Kong and Singapore and stuff like that. So that is what I was doing. And I will have probably one more day in January that I'll do. I'll try to give you a heads up when they want me to handle that. But that's really it. Any questions on that, Thomas?
I have a question about, not that, but like about China.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get more into it when we get into the China section. Yes.
If China has like a rule over the media, so
what? Yeah, they totally.
What does that entail for like debate?
Oh my gosh, right? That's a great question. So the expectation of China is they have what's called the Great Firewall of China, meaning Google doesn't exist in China, Twitter doesn't exist in China. I'm thinking of the Chinese equivalents. Facebook doesn't exist in China, right? So they have governmental infrastructure for their media outlets. So all their social media sites are actually controlled by the government. They have equivalents called Weibo and WeChat, right, which controls everything. I'm on those social media apps, so they monitor. They know exactly where I am all the time. Like right now, they know I'm in North Logan, Utah, teaching, and they probably are listening in on my conversations because it's downloaded on my phone. The government has a national infrastructure where they control that. So what that means is it's very easy and efficient, right? It also means heavy censorship, right? And they control. So if I were to say things in class that would be too harsh against China, then I maybe could get in trouble by some of my superiors, because the NSDA office, which controls debate, and let me look at another analogy here that would make sense. For basketball, this works. So again, Mac, you're on the basketball team. Okay. So the National Federation of High Schools, the NFHS, is the body that really organizes all the coaches and really how it works from state to state. Okay. NFHS is the body that operates all of those athletics. If anybody's in any athletics, that's what it does, basketball included. They have a national office. If they were to go, which they tried and they haven't done, if they were to go and partner with high schools in China, they would have to get a special partnership license in China. They couldn't exist on their own. They'd have to get a private business partner to be there in China because China is that controlled. Okay? That's why, for instance, Disneyland in Shanghai isn't actually owned by Disney anymore. It's owned by a private land company within Shanghai. They're partners. It's a 49-51 split, Adele, if that makes sense. But China is very controlling of what they do. So, Thomas, NSDA, National Speech and Debate Association, is whom I work for, but our main partner is a group that controls all the international schools within China. So there's like 75 international schools. These are like the hoitiest of private schools. You guys know some of the biggest private schools in Utah? Yeah. Right. Roland Hall, that sounds from Juan Diego. If those schools sound a little bit familiar, those are some of the biggest private schools in Utah. Tuition for these private schools in China is about, for the time of your high school, is about $20,000, which is more than what most of you will pay for college, right? So this private group is what works with the NSDA China, so they watch what we say and do. Now, Thomas, they give us a lot of leeway, which is really interesting, because you're like, wait, are you baiting me? Is this a trap? They give debaters a lot of leeway because they want their students to logically compete and debate and outthink you guys as US students. So they're willing to do that even though it puts on them debate topics that are controversial. Like last month, I had to do papers for them that talked about the topic that would criticize China government's response to housing crisis. That whole time, Nolan, I'm freaking out. Like if I say the wrong thing, like I could get in trouble and all that. Thankfully, they give a ton of leeway to these international schools because their intent purpose is to critically think, logically think aloud, and therefore be better than the US. Right? That's like a crazy thought, but that's the idea of what they want to do. The public schools, Thomas, if you go to the public schools, no. When we get to the section on China, almost everything we cover in that section on China is not covered in Chinese public schools. Right? So, the almost billion kids that are in their public school system don't cover it. But the international schools cover everything. So you're right to think, wait, they're really controlling. They give huge leeway to this private partner and the NSDA because they want their Chinese students to be better debaters than all of you. Which is like a crazy thing, right? We're like, sure, let's do it out of the spirit of camaraderie. Like, yeah, screw camaraderie. We want to be better than them. So when you guys see students who are like Harvard and Stanford and Yale who are outworking US students, that's why. Most of the students we work with have 18-hour school days. School days. Not athletics. School days. Yeah, like it's intense. 18 hours. Easy. And not just, that goes into Saturday as well, ladies and gentlemen.
But that means they're only sleeping for like 6 hours.
Yes.
About sleep.
That's I mean, you guys are making that connection. You're like, absolutely, that means they're only sleeping for, a couple hours. So their intensity is quite intimidating, right? But Thomas, they do allow a lot of leeway. They actually did this past year a topic in which they talked about physician-assisted suicide, which is like killing somebody who wants to die, right? And I'm thinking, we're all going to get thrown in jail, right? Because they don't want us talking about controversial things, but for their international schools, they do, because they want them to go to the best schools in the U.S. to then learn and become better debaters and better thinkers and better political organizers and better governmental analyzers than all of you. So that's like, all right, game on. Will you let them beat you in that way, right? So Thomas, they give us tons of leeway. Have there been things that they said, no, you can't do? Yes, I wrote a paper for them because they wanted to show students about the presidential debates. I wrote a paper that was published there that I had to censor tremendously because in the debate between Trump and Biden, they were talking about their protocols against China, and I had to massively censor. They had to cut out tons of things because they didn't want to seem as if the Chinese government was bad. So that's the one time I've seen them like take things away, if that makes sense, right? That's a great question. Did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a knowledge war, or like a war of knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, guys, we'll cover some of it here. You've seen phases, Thomas, over time of what did people earn money by? People earn money back in olden times by what? For some points here. What did people earn money? I mean, we'll get to Nigeria, but I think this is important. Like, how did you make a living, 1,000 years ago? Let's keep it that way, 1,000 years ago. So trade, Carson, you were going to say something? Thoughts? Not back then. I mean, you're getting there, but not back then. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, 180. Totally right on. Totally. I thought you said thoughts. I was like, oh. Hopefully it's not THOT. But yes. Yes, absolutely. So crops, trading of those crops, mostly crops, right? Fishing, etc. They made their money that way, albeit little. Then they discovered in industry, so about 200 years ago, there was the advent of the Industrial Revolution, right? Which made it where people could earn money not just from crops, but from processed, manufactured goods. Right? So yeah, like the whole triangular trade system, if that sounds familiar from 8th grade, right? Like not just slaves, but from manufactured goods and cotton and textiles and all that stuff, right? Okay. We have since about, World War II, developed countries economically have discovered that the way that you earn money is not on crops or even manufactured goods. Those things matter. But the way that developed countries like Japan, US, Canada, Germany, UK make money is on what? Let's go back to what I thought Carson said. What do they make money on? Thoughts. It's called the service sector, right? So Tessa, thank you for calling me out on my mistake there. That's great. It's on thoughts. It's a knowledge war. It's the age of information, which also sucks for you guys because you're processing so much information on media that you guys tune out, right? Your generation has way more media per day than even my old generation, Generation Y, right? Like you guys have a ton more. So it is an age of information, therefore it is an information battle. Who can process the information, who can understand it, who can analyze it more quickly, more efficiently, and who can move past it. And China right now is beating us. By 2052, economists say that their economy will be better than ours, bigger than ours. GDP, GNP will be bigger than ours. And many things, go back to Tanner, is will they, with the information, move on and just get past it, or will we get mired in our past? Does that make sense? We're like, well, I made factories and rivets and that side. China's like, screw that, we're going to tech industry. And we're like, well, we used to do it, we had Apple. Right? You get what I'm saying there? So yeah, the information war, that's absolutely, totally right on. Carson?
So like with their 18-hour school days, are they still getting assigned homework? And if they are, then they're sleeping less than 6 hours?
Yes, absolutely. Now, what'll happen is their traditional, I'll say this just to have an idea to compare. Their traditional school day in which they're in classes, they'll have at minimum 8 classes they'll have in a day. Okay, minimum 8. And they're going from about 7 a.m. till about 4:30, 5 o'clock p.m. Okay? So that's just the school day. Then for these international students who are going to these good schools, they're then doing what they call not just online courses, but they're registering for, we're not talking cello classes, but specific tutoring sessions for hour block segments with engineers, with scientists. These are private scientists who are working online in these fashions. So from about, you're talking 5 till 9 p.m., 10 p.m., they're in these hour segmented blocks where they get tutor sessions with them. That's their day, if that makes sense. It's like, wow. So then, for homework that is assigned, they have to balance that. Usually Sunday is shot. That's what they do. They can do more with less. And it's like crazy because you're like, wow, that's like really hard to think about. So that is absolutely the upper echelon. Now I want to be clear. These are the top 1% of the 1%. Are there international schools here in the States? Are there private schools here in the States that have very similar systems? Yeah, there are. Not in Utah. But on the coast, there are systems, Carson, that follow very similar. So those are the kids who will end up, at Yale or Harvard because they're the tryhards, right? But that's who I'm working with in the China sector. Therefore, they have more leeway in that because they want them to be our top 1% kids. Crazy stuff. So that's what I'm doing. So if I give you like allusions to what I'm doing, I hope to give you some information on it. I do have to be careful because we do have things uploaded on YouTube that I can't be too harsh on it. But for China, I'm allowed to do it on that section because it's for the international schools, they cover the same material. Right? So there you go. Good, great questions. Okay, so, man, that sounds like I'm really dissing all U.S. kids. But it does. It should put a fire under you. Like, dang, man, I'm a schlub compared to their work ethic and time. I mean, they're impressive. Okay, we left off last time, if I remember correctly, we got to the very end. I think the 5th part here, right, Selena? In that, we were talking about several leaders in that Abacha was doing some bad stuff. He killed a lot of people, and also he stole 2/3 of the oil revenue. Yar'Adua, what was something bad that he did? You remember what Yar'Adua did? Yes, Giselle. Yes, very good. With Rabadu, that re-education camp, that's so anti-democratic. Like, we're going to force you to think the right way. And then Good Luck Jonathan, he came in, which is good. What was a good thing he did? Yes.
Open secret ballot.
Yes, open secret ballot. So we're seeing some progress here, right? Like that was looking good. he didn't get a lot of ground gained on Boko Haram, but the last thing here, people were so upset that Muslim extremists formed what group again? Boko Haram. Now, maybe in the text, maybe you guys found this out, but what was this broken tradition? I think the bell rang before we got to it on Tuesday. What was Giselle? Or sorry, Giselle. Sorry, Grace.
Was it that he wasn't a Muslim?
Yes. Okay, so there's a little bit more to it, but in essence, it was because he wasn't Muslim. The People's Democratic Party, right? They had formed, they said, look, for us to get any presidential win, we know we have to have a coalition between Muslims and Christians. So there is this unspoken rule that, okay, we're going to put Yar'Adua up in 2007, who's a Muslim, and did he win? Yeah, the coalition was good enough to win, so Salima, he wins. After he wins, the expectation is that 2011, what would the religion be of the person who won? Christian, right? That would be the expectation. And then 2015, they'd flip back and forth, right? Does that make sense? They keep doing that. So, Carson, is that in the Constitution? No. Walker, you're right. The PDP, it was just a gentleman's agreement. However, what happened in 2010? Right, Yar'Adua died, Goodluck Jonathan took over. And so the idea of Goodluck Jonathan being the new president, they're like, okay, that makes sense. But many Muslims expected that in 2011, what should happen? Think about the switching back and forth. Muslim, right? Does that make sense? I mean, reasonably, Tyler, you're looking at that and thinking, well, no, I mean, Yar'Adua served for 3 years. Jonathan served for like 1 year, so he should be able to run in 2011, right? So Christians in PDP were like, yeah, it's our turn. But Muslims were saying what? Yeah, exactly. You got your turn. Again, not to have any bad luck wishing anybody. But as Dylan, you play basketball too, right? Let's say Dylan, he gets elected as captain of the basketball team, right? But let's say that he has a bad injury halfway through, right, the season, and the next season they want to elect him as captain. Should that happen? Yeah, I mean, Dylan said, yeah, I mean, I didn't really have my chance to be true captain playing and stuff like that, right? Shouldn't I have another chance? The Christians are saying that. That seems reasonable, right? And that's what they claim. But the Muslims definitely were not happy with it, and that's where the broken tradition came from. I mean, in essence, it was because he wasn't Muslim, right? But they thought it would sort of switch back and forth. That's what should happen. Okay, great job, Gracie. Good job. So that broken tradition is just that. I don't know if we wrote this still in the fifth part. Let's write this. This group, so still in the fifth part, this group blew up Christian police stations, right? This group blew up Christian police stations. This group blew up Christian police stations. And kidnapped, this should sound a little familiar, kidnapped, boom. Ooh, that's a different group. I like that, that's a different group. Boko Haram, they kidnapped Christian girls, yes. So they blew up Christian police stations, and they kidnapped Christian girls. Now, yeah, Thomas.
How can a police station be Christian?
I know. That's a great question. Sounds like you have some weird, I don't know, idol like the Holy Trinity Police Station, where we, one nation under God, we arrest you. Like that doesn't sound like it makes sense. Anybody know what I'm trying to say when I say Christian police stations? Think about the geographic divide in Nigeria. What's up north? I know Destin and Tanner are looking up right now. Right? You guys are looking online right now. Up north in Nigeria, what is the main religion? Yeah, Al. Muslim, yeah. Down south, it's going to be Christian. So when I say that, I mean to say they go, Thomas, to predominantly Christian areas like Lagos, Nigeria, which is a huge city, huge. And that area is predominantly Christian. They'll go there and they'll blow up police stations there. As opposed to, like, if you're feeling like anti-establishment, and I want to kill people. I don't care who. Like, why don't you go kill them up in Baga, Nigeria, like up in the north? They specifically targeted like predominantly Christian areas. It's the same as me saying like, the Mormon police station of Provo, right? You guys get what I'm saying? I'm not saying like they'll have like a Church Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints established police station, but like it's predominantly Mormon. That's a really good question. Adele.
So why didn't they kidnap guys? Because it would make more of a difference since girls are the minority, right?
So you're saying like, I mean, you're right, strategically, you would want to like kidnap guys, hamstring them more in terms of any military or police response, right? That's a really good point. You would want to do that. That would make more military sense. But Boko Haram isn't working in the realm of reason here. I mean, they're not working like, oh, I get it. They want to strike fear and terror in individuals, hence them, in a sense, becoming terrorists, right? And what's an easy way to do it? We're gonna kidnap the gender that seems more subservient, more susceptible to harm, more vulnerable. And then that will strike fear in the families in southern Nigeria, and they will truly fear Boko Haram, right? That's the same idea of like, why would you kidnap a young child versus kidnapping the father who's the military general? Like, he has strategy, like that's true, you can kidnap him, but it would strike fear and have more leverage if it's the young child. Hence every plot device for like Taken 1 through 8 or whatever, right? That's a good question though. Yeah, Gracie.
So like if members of like the government found leaders of people who run Boko Haram, would they arrest them or?
Oh man,
What did they do?
I mean that's a Mac level question I say from before. Sort of, if legitimately Nigerian governmental leaders were able to go and have an Osama bin Laden like raid, right? And they found it. They might advertise it, but would they actually prosecute all the leaders associated in that ring? My gut instinct would be no, based on their history, right? How can I spin this? Hey, we'll let you off if you vote for me. We'll let you off if you give us money. We'll let you, right? They'd spin it, and they make a deal that way. That's my gut instinct. But we don't know. Like, that's where people are trying to research into that type of thing. We just know, this is the weird thing. I'm not trying to get conspiratorial, but Buhari, right, the current president, gap-toothed dude, Boko Haram has gone away, but is it possible that Buhari has basically done like under-the-table deals and bribes with Boko Haram to like get them out? Maybe, right? We don't know. We just know that they've gone away more. So my gut instinct, Gracie, is they probably wouldn't prosecute all of them. No, that's a great question. Great question. Okay, we're going to get into this next section of people. So you got it on the back, right, Daniel? Awesome. You got it on the back. We have 3 subsections. If I were you, what I would do, Avery, is like leave a third of the space. Yeah, so you'll just do like subsection here, here, and here, right? Here are the 3 subsections you're going to write down. The first one, oil. Oil. Right, you guys see what I'm talking about? So leave about a third of the space, go down. See that oil? The next one, Tyler, is Islam. Islam. Right? Islam. So we have oil, go down, Islam, go down, and the last one is stats. Right? Like statistics. 'Cause I know I love numbers and statistics and all those lovely things. But those are the 3 subsections that we're going to talk about here. Now, before we go on break, I want to make this very clear that a lot of times we talk about Islam, and even having talked about here, we've mentioned the idea of Islam and terror, right? So Nolan, when you, I'll be honest with my own confession here. After 9/11, right? Now, granted, I was 16? 17? Yeah, 16. About to turn 17. Right after 9/11. I went to an airport like a year after, and I saw a guy who was a Sikh, meaning he wasn't Muslim. He was a Hindu. He was basically an offshoot of Hinduism from India, right? And he had like the red dot on his forehead, right? And he had not like a full-on turban, right? But he had sort of a head covering. And I was thinking, oh no, we're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. It was like a subtle hopper plane from Philly to Buffalo or to Albany. And I was like, we're all going down. I was really judgmental because I thought like, oh, he looks Arab and therefore we're gonna die. I mean, Tanner, I'm just being honest that whether he saw that and laughed or agreed with, I don't know. The question I have for you guys is, do you honestly have those same type of stigmas that might be around in that Arab world? And stay tuned.
I'm sorry, that just goes, I'll just give it to her.
Okay. All right. Say she's not. She's not.
Is she supposed to be?
Yes, she is.
Second hour, right?
Yeah, but she's just not here.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Thank you,
Sorry
miss.
to interrupt.
No, you're fine. So, I always hate when I say this is a judgment-free zone, and then we gotcha, right? Like Thomas was asking about China, like, yeah, talk about whatever you want, and like you're worried that they're gonna get you. So my question is, honestly though, have any of you felt that bias against those who are Arab? Let's be Tanner. Yeah, Carson. Everything we hear online, on media, ISIS. Heck, you see ISIS, who they will take journalists from the UK or from Australia and they will behead them on live TV. Why? Death to the West, right? And you're like, okay, that's bad, evil. I'm here to let you guys know that the Arab world, the Islamic world, is like Shrek, okay? Stick with me. Dale's like, what? Isn't the line in Shrek where like ogres are like onions?
And they have multiple layers.
And they have multiple layers. Okay, all right. So you guys are sticking with me here. So, yay, terror and Shrek. Okay, all right. So there's 3 layers in the Islamic world. There is the vast majority, I would dare say 80% of the Islamic world, vast majority, are peaceful, wonderful individuals. And that's like the biggest core, if you will, the biggest layer of the onion, okay? That core, 80% or so of the Islamic world, a third of the world's population, if you will, is largely peaceful. In fact, do you guys know, for 10 points, do you guys know the 5 pillars of Islam? Maybe in geography, I think Miss Knowles talks about it.
She does, but I spaced it.
Okay, that's fair. That's okay, right? And I got to give her credit. That's oftentimes not talked about in even a geography class. The 5 pillars of Islam. Does anybody know? And I like it. I mean, Thomas, you can look it up. Walker, you guys can look it up. That's okay. Yes, Gracie.
Fasting?
Okay, so one of them is fasting. Meaning, if we want to look at, like, if Islam is violent, then Carson, we should look at what they believe. Their articles of faith. Sort of. Okay, so one of them is fasting. Ooh, scary fasting. Because when you fast from food and water, you kill people? No, that's not it at all. Fasting, as is the case for most Christian theologies, is you're sort of subjecting your body to show subservience to God, right? They fast. Guys, this is what's crazy. Ramadan, like the month of Ramadan, Hakeem Olajuwon, you guys know Hakeem Olajuwon, right? He's from northern Nigeria, okay? He participated in the month of Ramadan fasting, which means in the summertime, it's crazy. They fast from sun up till sundown for a month. Now, they break the fast, right? When sundown happens, they break the fast and they have a big communal gathering. So each day, like, it's not as if for 30 days straight you were fasting, right? But for a month, you were fasting from sundown or sun up till sundown. That's Ramadan. Hakeem Olajuwon in the playoffs for multiple years, the 2 years that they actually won with the Rockets, the championship, he fasted in the month of Ramadan. It's based on the lunar and solar cycles, which usually means it can be as early as May, which is cool, or it could be as late as July. Think of the heat there. I've taught some kids at the University of Utah in the summer who are participating in Ramadan, and they have like full-on headdress and everything, and they are dying because they're fasting from water. I mean, that sounds scary, right? No, that's impressive. So that's one of them. Okay, the other ones, Thomas.
Pilgrimage to Mecca.
Yeah, so, trying to remember the actual Arabic word for that. Pilgrimage. What was it called?
HAJJ.
Hajj. Yes, Hajj. Yes. Very good, very good. Yeah, so pilgrimage. So it's expected that one time in your life, right, that you want to go to Mecca, which is basically their Zion. That's where they believe the Prophet Muhammad rose into heaven and met Allah and stuff like that, okay? Like a first vision type thing. It's expected that one time in your life you go and visit there. Oh, scary. No, I mean, that's so similar, Tanner, to, geez, Mormons outside of Utah. Isn't that sort of the thought, like, I want to go to Temple Square one time in my life, right? Like, that's a very similar thing. Okay, so 2 down. We haven't found the scary one yet. Other ones, Walker, somebody had their hand up? Yeah.
The alms.
Alms. Okay, alms. This might sound weird, but you hear the term like alms for the poor. Have you guys ever heard of that? Like, the idea, Selena, of, heck, I'm thinking the old animated Robin Hood. You know, like, there it is. There it is, Selena, yeah. So this idea of giving charity, you're just giving charity, where people who are poor and in need, you give money to and help them out. That's alms. Ooh, so scary, Tucker. We're giving money to the poor. And killing? No. No, we're just giving them money. Okay, so 3 down. Another one. Yeah, Dylan.
Prayer.
Prayer, guys, 5 times a day. So scary. In fact, this is what sometimes people get really scared of, is they'll see a prayer mat facing where? Where are they facing when they pray? Yeah, let's get names down. Emerson. East. Well, yeah, I mean, for us it's east, right? I guess it depends on where you are, but yes, east facing Mecca. Yes, very good. Yeah. So, did you guys, who else had Mrs. Knowles for geography? Okay, well, so not, well, good. Good on you guys for knowing this, even if you didn't have her in class. I don't know if Eborn, I don't know if he covered, maybe he does. I don't know. Anywho, Emerson, you're right that they face east, they face Mecca, and they pray 5 times a day. Their prayer is very simple. Allahu Akbar. God is great. Ooh, so scary. Now, there is something a little trippy, is Tanner, you know, we talked about sort of our own biases, which are real. I have had them too. Terror acts, when somebody will come in and shoot like a military installation up, they will then say Allahu Akbar, and then they'll like blow the whole police station up, or they will, like, that's what they say. That's what they say. So people are like, oh, what? That must mean something evil. They take that good thought and they twist it and manipulate it, right? Okay, so we got 4 down. That's not like the evil one, no, because it's just prayer. So then there's one more. Yeah, Thomas.
Declaration of faith.
Yeah, faith. Scary. No, like the 5 pillars of the Islamic faith, Muslims, followers of God, are not evil or scary. It's not at all. That's the main layer. 80% of them are great. You then have about 15% of the Islamic world that they do what's called Sharia, which should sound familiar from some of the reading up north in Nigeria. They follow Sharia. Sharia is a very strict code. They don't kill infidels. They mainly kill women. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that. They actually look at women as being sub-citizens, as property. They're temptresses from the time of Adam and Eve, and they've tempted people, and they must be controlled. Hence the head coverings, the head scarves, and the burqas, because those hair ends tempt people. But I don't know. That's the idea. Sharia is a very strict interpretation of the Quran, which is their religious scripture. Okay, for 10 points. Now, I will add the 10 points here, because you guys got all 5 of them. But for another 10 points, why do those who follow Sharia, they look at the Quran, which is basically the first 5 books of the Old Testament with some teachings from Muhammad. That's it, which is ironic that these religions which hate each other so much are so similar. You know what I mean? But for 10 more points, why have they interpreted the Old Testament to say, yep, women, you got to control them. They're half of a male. Can anybody somehow read into it, Thomas?
Because the majority of the prophets and like religious leaders of the Old Testament were male, and
Okay.
females weren't as, like, they
Okay, so the thought is that it's a patriarchy, you know, males were more in control. I think you're onto something there. Alan?
Because it's not Adam and Eve story.
It's the Adam and Eve. Eve was tempted, and she tempted Adam. And it's her fault that we're kicked out of the Garden of Eden, and that wily temptress said, so gentlemen, you can't trust any woman. They take that one sector, and I think it is the patriarchy there, but they take that scripture and they extremely blow it up. Christians never take any part of scripture and extremely blow it up, ever. Ever. Right? I mean, Mac and others should be picking up like, no, like Christians do that like all the time. We're gonna have weird sects who be like, speak with the tongues of snakes. Pentecostal, let's go dance with poisonous snakes. Got it. Right? Like in the South, like they take one part of it. So Sharia, they take that part, Alan, very good, and they sort of twist it and blow it up. And you're like, what? Most of the Islamic world's like, no, women are, we might have out of reverence to God a head covering, but that's not because they're property. Right? Does that make sense? Okay. So northern Nigeria, Iran, and a part of Saudi Arabia, they're the only parts of the whole Islamic world that follow Sharia, if that makes sense. Then the last 5%, the last layer, Tanner, if you will, of this lovely onion. The one that you see on the outermost covering, but actually isn't the substantial part of Islam, is, and Carson, going back to what you're talking about, terrorists, Boko Haram, ISIS, who they believe in a sixth pillar, if you will, jihad. The Prophet Muhammad said, and I know Tanner's looking this up in the Quran right now, on school Wi-Fi. The Prophet Muhammad said that we should all commit to ourselves to a jihad, a war against sin and evil. Yeah. You know, Adele, you read that and you're like, yeah, I make mistakes every day, I gotta get better, and cool, that makes sense. Okay, that's gonna be my jihad. Islamic terrorists take that literally, and they say, yeah, a jihad, Daniel. We gotta fight people. We gotta kill people. Who should we kill? Infidels, people who are non-believers. Got it, that's our jihad. Death to the West, right? So that's where they take it, it's so extreme. Is that indicative of the whole Islamic religion? No, no. Okay, so I got 10 points. Alan and Thomas, very good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Last 10-point question. Third hour's already gotten to one of these and they did not get the 10 points. So that's one advantage, right? So let's go 3 for 3. Here's the analogy. Islamic extremists, ISIS, Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda, right? Taliban, does this sound right? Islamic extremists are to the Islamic world as blank is to the Christian world. Islamic extremists are to the Islamic world as blank is to the Christian world. Thomas?
Nazis?
Well, okay, you're not completely off here. His belief wasn't rooting Christianity, though it was against Jews, yes, as much as genetic superiority, so Nietzsche and stuff like that. So, but you're on some, not Nazis. I think in Utah we don't see it, I guess, but in other parts of the country we do. Tanner? What was that?
No clue.
Wait, repeat it again?
No, repeat it one more time.
Okay. Last time. Islamic extremists are to Islam as blank is to the Christian world.
Christians as like is like this Islamic extremist. It's like Christians would hate wherever the blank is.
Yeah, even though they are technically part of the Christian world, right? Because Islam, that's a great way to say it, Grace. I'll give you a point alone from just saying it that way. Islam, they look at the Islamic extremists like, are you freaking kidding me? You were giving us all a bad name, right? So it's like if there's some weird sect at Green Canyon that was like, in Dave's honor, and they like curb stomped every kid from Skyview, and they're like, honor to Dave, and you're like, no, what are you doing? Stop it. Green Canyon's, oh, Tanner's getting excited. Nobody would like that because it gives everybody a bad name, like, oh, those GC kids are a bunch of thugs. You're like, no, we're not, just those weirdos that do that, right? So, yes, the Christian world looks at this group and is like, oh my gosh, stop it! Any other thoughts?
None that I wanna say.
Matt?
Catholic? No.
Okay. No, and I know it's hard in a Intermountain West area to like, because your perspective on general Christianity might be a little different. Tanner said nothing he wants to say.
Yep.
Okay. KKK.
I said that. I just didn't want to be rude.
I know, and I like that. Okay, I'm not gonna give you the full 10 points. We got a couple points from Matt and Gracie's idea. We'll give you 5. We'll give you 5 more. So total of 7 of the 10.
Any church.
What was that?
It is Protestant, Catholic, anyone like that.
So all of that's in the realm of Christianity, right?
Yeah.
So there are some wackos out there like KKK, Westboro Baptist Church. Have you guys heard? They're the ones who protest at military individuals' funerals, and they say, "You deserve to die because the U.S. has allowed homosexuality." And you're like, "What the?" KKK. Their main belief set are based on the curse of Cain. Their interpretation, a strict, weird interpretation that anybody who has, the dark black skin tone, therefore must be cursed by God and therefore must die. And the rest of the Christian world's like, no. Burning crosses, no. White hoods, no. We're doing it. And you're like, right? That's the idea, yes. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll give you 5 points, so a total of 7 from what you guys said there. Do you guys get that analogy? Does that make sense of like, you don't see it here in Utah, but in the South, they're still members of the Klan. And you're like, that does not represent Christian theology. So be aware as we talk about Nigeria and Iran, that Islamic extremism is there. Is it the norm? No. That's a big takeaway. No. Absolutely. Okay, so with that said, let's do this. Let's go on a short break. Let's get it move around, and then we'll get back to
I didn't want to be like that. I don't want to be mean.
I know.
Like anybody.
And we talk about ethnic stereotypes. I get it. I appreciate it. Okay, guys, for 5 points for your class, that this is an opportunity that you guys have that I won't offer the third hour because I just need to go for it. Can somebody go down to the copy center downstairs and just get a green marker refill?
I can.
Tucker, is that? Oh, I guess you can take one other person with you.
Okay.
Just for Mr. Pierre.
Okay.
Sign. Thank you. Just a green marker refill. Thank you so much, Tucker.
Welcome.
Assuming he does it, you guys will get 5 more points.
No, I think he did it.
If he didn't and he like ran away, I took a note from Pierre and I'll never come back. All right. Thomas, really good question about China stuff. I mean, that's the only time I've seen them censor it is when I was doing the paper on the debate for them.
We're killing it. Look how far ahead we are.
Yes, well, I mean, mind you,
We're barely at it.
but as Carson said before, hey, it's still demoralizing. We sat, a couple points to their 2 rows of points. But you guys gained ground last time, right? You're not going to do this in one day. You got to keep chipping away at it. What you're doing right now is what needs to.
Now we're ahead, and we're actually ahead. Even though they're gonna get ahead.
Well, yeah.
Next hour.
Dexter's like, we'll take what we can get. I'm happy. Yeah, I
We're
mean,
getting close.
you are, like, honestly. And I tell you otherwise. They'd be like, guys, you got to up it more. No, you're doing great. Just keep this up. Keep it up. All right.
You should find something really bad they do and take away from it. Like a whole page.
Yeah, right. I don't know, in third hour some classes get really bad on phones. I mean, this is break guys use phones, but I guess you want to hope that they get really bad on phones. But right now they haven't.
Anyone who has friends in third hour, just literally text them nonstop.
You gotta look at it right now.
Hey, who's your third hour classmate?
Yeah, I don't know their last names yet.
We could just all sit in here and not leave until they're all in here. Then we'll leave.
You have like a class sit-in. You can't take a seat. You're being insubordinate.
Now what it is I know them. I'm gonna text all of them.
You make a group chat.
Yeah.
Make a group chat and just spam me.
Nah, I just spam high.
Yeah, just something that you can
Like,
copy and
they're like doing
paste
the
over and
ABCs.
over.
Yeah. 10 minutes later, CD.
You should do it as fast as possible.
All right, so on the topic of layers, yeah, I mean, it's probably not good that I'm relating Islam to, like, and here's the other thing too, and Maddie, I don't want you to go home and tell your parents that I'm saying you should believe this, but Muslims translate it, look at that, good sir.
You like that? Okay.
Sure, I will destroy the evidence so that you don't use my signature to go do scandalous things.
Fuck yeah.
Look, Mr. Pure authorized the day squad. It's okay. That would be so bad. If there's like a, oh man, like a bad gang of GC kids who beat up this guy. Anyway, so Muslim translated means follower of God. So I guess anybody who believes in a God is a Muslim. So Walker. I mean, please don't go into your seminary teacher and be like, I'm a Muslim.
I don't have seminary, yeah.
So, like, I mean, if anybody does that, but that is the translation of a Muslim is follower of God. That'd be like a mind trip. I got the Muslim award. So, on the topic of layers, hopefully something a little more humorous. Here's one. This is from Saturday Night Live, and not about onions or about Shrek, just layers.
They're about to, all right. You at Taco Town. We take a crunchy all-beef taco, smother it in nacho cheese, lettuce, tomato, and our special southwestern sauce. Then we wrap it in a soft flour tortilla with a layer of refried beans in between. Sweet. Then we wrap that in a savory corn tortilla with a middle layer of Monterey Jack cheese.
Oh, great. Yeah, it's good layers.
Awesome. And it gets even awesomer when we take a deep-fried gordita shell, smear on a layer of our special guacamole sauce, and wrap that around the outside. This is pretty big. It gets bigger.
Oh, looking pretty good. Okay.
Because we bake it in a corn husk filled with pico de gallo, then wrap that in an authentic Parisian grape filled with egg, Gruyere, Maria sausage, and portobello mushrooms. Say it now. Sure. But not before we take the whole thing and wrap that in a Chicago-style deep dish meat lovers pizza. Now that's what I call a taco. Well, it's not a Taco Town taco until we roll it up in a blueberry pancake, dip it in batter, and deep fry it until it's golden brown. Then we serve it all in a commemorative tote bag filled with spicy vegetarian chili and 15 great tips all rolled into one. The new Pizza Crate Taco Pancake Chili Bag. Only at Taco Town.
That's good.
That whole thing looks good?
Yeah.
No, it looked
In
it
the
looked
commemorative tote chili
Good.
bag?
It looked good.
Well,
Up
maybe
until
without the chili bag.
I think, yeah, prior to the crepe, I'm like, with the sausage thing, like, maybe. Yeah, not, with the
Yeah.
pizza?
Yeah.
For me, it was,
Ah,
it was
no,
everything
no,
except
no,
the
no,
hot
no.
sauce bag.
So,
Everything except the hot sauce bag.
It just sounds like heartburn.
sounds
I'd have to eat
sounds like a heart attack.
If you don't see me tomorrow, you know where I am.
Trying to find Taco Town. I want the chili tote bag. Nah.
It's the bag I can do.
I thought they
without
can't even like hold it, like the batter is all fried and stuff. Okay, so under people and oil, in this section there's a total of 4 things you're gonna write down. The first is, Nigeria is Africa's most populated country. So Nigeria,
This is
under people, right? Under oil. I know you're like, wait, we're not talking about oil. We'll get there. Nigeria is Africa's most populated country with, so on the back page under people.
Oh, is that really on this one?
Oh, I wonder if you,
I was on current events.
oh, okay. All right, so then just flip it. You're okay, you'll be fine.
Don't use this one?
Yeah, because then when we get to the other section, So what I would suggest doing, oh yeah, that works fine. That works fine. You'll be okay. Alright, so Nigeria is Africa's most populated country with, for 5 points, what's the population of Nigeria?
A lot.
Walker?
Maybe 300 million.
Ooh, okay. I'm okay. I'll give you most of the points there. That's what they project it as, okay? But we don't know for sure yet. So we think it's almost at 300. So if some of you done the paper and been like, okay, on Wikipedia, what's the population? They project it as almost 290, right? Almost 300. I'm going to give you the points for that. In this, for the notes, what we do know for sure, let's say with a population of 200 million people, okay? 200 million people. With a population of 200 million people, okay? So, the next thing you're going to write down here, population of 200 million people, is Nigeria has some of the largest oil deposits in the world. Nigeria has some of the largest oil deposits in the world. Some of the largest oil deposits in the world. Now, when I say project, do you guys know, like, every 10 years the U.S. does something that, like, helps track our own population? You guys know what that's called? The census, right? Did that actually happen this year? Like, it was scheduled to happen. Connor, not really. I mean, like, maybe a little bit, but not very accurately. Like, they're probably going to go back and do some other stuff to get our population. So we believe the U.S. population is not yet to 400 million, but more than 320 million. Does that make sense? We're the third most populated country in the world. Now, third place is a steep drop off from first and second, right? Steep drop off. But we do have, right, compared to many European countries and such, like we have a big country. We do, in terms of numbers. Nigeria, though, and some of you were mentioning this, is densely populated. With 2/3, let's just say 2/3 of the U.S. population in the size of Texas and Oklahoma. Put that in perspective, right? That's how big Nigeria is. It's a little bit bigger than Texas, not as much as if you include Oklahoma. Huge, so crazy density. I will also say this, and some people get confused. People say, like, the U.S., we're overpopulated, stop having kids. The government actually wants people to have more kids. Ashton, the reality is you can put all the U.S. population in the size of Texas. You can put it in Texas, in a subdivision, North Logan-esque type thing, and have all the manufacturing in Ohio, and you're done. Yeah, and that counters what a lot of people say, like, well, yeah, stop having kids. And developing countries have big problems with this, like Nigeria. Does that make sense? Overpopulation probably is an issue. But countries like Germany, Germany, U.S., U.K., Japan, China's on the border of that. They have an underpopulation problem. They need to have more kids to balance it out. Sort of a weird thought, right? Okay. So they have some of the biggest oil deposits in the world. We think it's at 200 million, like we know it's at 200 million. It could be more, right? Because if we haven't had a good census, has Nigeria actually gone and like knocked on every hut? Probably not, right? Carson.
Well, who's first and second population?
Okay.
China and India.
There it is. China and India. Okay, there have been some times that India's like eked out, but China and
India's
India.
almost the first.
Yes. China, India, then we're steep drop off.
Both at 1.3 million.
Yes,
Billion,
there
sorry.
you go. Billion, yeah. Gracie.
Did you say that China was overpopulated?
They're on the cusp, right? Meaning they have a bunch of old people, but not enough young people. So that's what we mean when we say underpopulated. That's pretty good. So Gracie, yeah, they need more young kids to balance the population. And if they can get out to the west part of China is sparse and rural, like, go live, but they don't.
Well, I also like Corona has made them more underpopulated too.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, like, and and we've had the bubonic plague and stuff in the West.
Yeah.
They had nothing, so their numbers they're on the cusp. That's why we're like, they're not totally developed yet. Good question.
Where does a suicide bomber go after their job's done? Absolutely everywhere.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Carson, sorry, you had a hand up. I thought.
Yeah, I asked you who was the person.
Oh, yes. Yep. Steep drop off, right?
Wait, so China could technically be more populated than it is?
Yeah, and I would dare say any developing country, like India, for sure, has more population than what they're recording, because it requires, right, statistical regression models, stat workers, knocking door to door, following up with people, right? And let's be honest, if you got poo water running through the streets, you're probably not having like a lot of census workers and stuff.
Gone canoes.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So it could have more. Yep. Very good. Very good. Chase, sorry that we have the lovely books. It's like a divide between you and Gracie. Don't cross this line. But sorry, it's for tomorrow, so just
What the freak?
you can hang it in there. Did you
What
do that?
what did they do?
There are 3 10-point questions.
Okay, because they had.
Yeah, you guys have to have. No. There are 3 10-point questions. Remember the whole Shrek thing we're gonna get to? That's part of it. 3 10-point questions. Yeah, no. Now I will say, you are right to see they did close the gap more last time, right? They have been more vocal, and they continued that today. Again, Gracie Watkins.
Who is that person?
Fact.
Well, when we ended
Carson
on Tuesday,
Proctor.
we were 40 points ahead.
Yeah, no, you guys were whatever, 40 something, whatever, 45 points ahead, yeah. And that's how it was today. You're fine. There are 3 10-point questions at play today. So
Okay.
There you go.
Like other 30 other ways.
through the lecture, yes. But again, they have been more vocal. It has been Carson Proctor, Gracie Watkins, Thomas Brish, and Tate Walker. Those 4 have been like definitely more with it, or at least asking way more questions. Hey, good to have you back.
I think I'm really far behind them.
That's okay. That's okay.
I got all the leaders names yet. I don't know, and that's as much as I have.
Okay. So, I guess the question then is, we are on in notes. Do you have the hard copy of notes still yet? Okay, so I can sort of show you. We're on people, right? Because we finished up the leaders on Tuesday, if I remember correctly. So yeah. So we got through the leaders, and then we're now just starting people. Okay.
So will that stuff be
Yes, we're gonna cover a little bit right here now as well. But yes. All right, good to have you back.
I'm so far behind and oh my goodness.
I can only imagine, Jay. We are glad to have you back though. Yes, JC.
So when I was 1, I didn't get more than probably first.
Okay.
Like a big if I could get one.
Yes, you can. Absolutely. Make sure I get you the right one. Yes. Here you go. And again, those are on Canvas, but I have hard copies here as well. Yes, Joseph.
So I was curious, or more accurately, I would like you to verify whether or not I'm correct. So you were talking to me on Tuesday about your experience in Southeast Asia.
Correct.
Judging from that flag, was that Cambodia?
Yes. Yeah, there you go. Very astute. Very astute. Make sure the marker here is working. I feel bad in a way because your points are now more like prominent than theirs will be. I don't know if that means like these are worth double. Is that?
Yeah.
All right. So sorry. Let me just pause this guy.